Yes.
Welcome back to my second class of population geography, especially for WBCS and IAS aspirants. Now, today I have taken a very easy topic and which is one of the most consistent and important topic that you will find is being recurring repeatedly in question papers, like what is demographic transition theory? A very important theory and extremely important theory which comes in a long question every year. And if you go to the last 20 question papers, as I have mentioned, demographic transition theory is a very observed question that comes every year. Now, before we begin with what is demographic transition theory, let us highlight with few of the points which you require to know before you write an answer. So just like previous one, demographic transition theory is available in all of the population geography books. And since it is a theory, we cannot make any typical change of it because it is a theory and it is being proved. So our part of contribution is much less in this area. But definitely, before we go for demographic transition theory, we must understand what is exactly the meaning of demography. What is demography? Demography is anything which is related to population and it can be of any aspects of population. You see, I have given notice to birth rate, death rate, age, sex, religion. Now, you also need to define this kind of terms very precisely or demography rather elaborately. Now, demography, one must understand that while you're writing your answer, you must not be sticking to the older idea, but you have to make some practicable knowledge in your answer, which is what is being required. I have said in my previous lecture, that is the most important part that examiners look into. That is where you are using your practical part. Now, a set of principles to be followed or being to be laid down to be followed. Now, what is this principles I'm talking about? Now, certain theories have certain principles, and we cannot go away with this kind of principles. So I must say that while you're writing the introduction of your answer, you have to analyze and write an unknown introduction of a known topic. That's very important. Demographic transition theory is a very common topic in population geography, but unknown introduction you have to write. So a question might arise that from where I could get an unknown introduction? How can it be a theory to be introduced in an unknown manner? That is what exactly the technique. Let us see that in case of introduction, what we should analyze. That the first three lines should be about the connotations when you explaining the meaning of three terminologies. Now, what are the three terminologies are here? I have explained. First is demographic, that is demographic transition, where you're explaining what is demography. Next is transition. Transition, you have to explain the meaning of transition. And theory. Now, we have a common analysis that theory means, I have said in the previous part also, that we cannot change a lot. But yes, we can talk about this applicability. What I have said in my previous lecture also, since we cannot change the concept of theory, we can change the applicability part of any theory. Okay, let's see how we are going to write down the answer. Now, introduction line has been gone, and when you're going for the fourth, fifth, and sixth lines of your answer, what you're going to highlight and what obviously you're going to mark, because upon this your marks will depend. That is the propounders of this theory, the names of the population geographers, okay, who have propounded this theory. You have to obviously write down the names here because that is most important part, whether you are aware of this theory or not. Second, if possible, you see I'm highlighting if possible name of the years from where this theory has been propounded. But don't write wrong years. That is not desirable. If you don't remember the years, just forget it. So I'm highlighted the word if possible. So these are the two things. This is the most important thing that is looked after by examiner. This is the X factor, that is extra part if you could remember. Next, reason behind this transition. That is why this theory is still significant and it's coming, or rather we are studying it in our syllabus. So this part you have to write in your own. Don't go for any bookish language, because you will not find it particularly in any of the book. Because reasons behind this transition is that I can give you an answer that population is changing every day. The population composition is changing at every hour, and the constant birth rate, death rate, and whatever is being coming up is being in alternative fashion. It is becoming dynamic. So naturally, this we are studying this theory. So this can be written in a very profound manner within 2 or 3 lines. Now, what will be the body part of my answer? Like the various types of demographic transition theory, which is to be classified as per stages, you already know. In certain books, it has been given as 3 stages, in certain books as 4 stages, in certain book 5 stages. Whatever it is, the examiner will accept all the things because it is being propounded by various person. But you need to generalize the stages. You can mention the stages basically as per the propounder, but what you need to do, you need to generalize all the stages together and make a comprehensive analysis of a stages in your own. So that will give you the proper marks and the proper basic knowledge about what you're writing about is theory. Because the other part, you were just writing down their ideas. But when you are making a comprehensive analysis, then that is the part where you are generalizing your own concept. So that will be given a lot of importance. I'll be showing you in one way that how you're going to highlight your answer for every stage. Let us take into consideration stages. You see the first stage. We all know the first stage of demographic transition theory. It is often being named as pre-industrial society, which was mainly agricultural in nature, which has seen both high birth rate, high death rate. Now this, you see, stages, names and highlights, I have used a different color. But when I have used extra input and Indian examples and world examples, this goes your part, your analysis. So it is being colored black. This will be written by every person. But the extra input, socioeconomic condition, if you could write 1 or 2, types of natural increase which has taken place, and you can highlight your answer. I will be showing in the next part. I will be definitely showing in the next slide that how you're going to highlight your answer in the part of population pyramid. Indian examples is obviously being asked because since you was sitting for IAS or WBCS, it will be given a lot of favor. And if you could give a world example of a particular country. Now, if you are continuing with it, you may add another column where you can insert a world map. Now, I have said in my previous lecture that in population geography, world map, graph, and overall presentation with the HDI factor. I hope you all know about this. What is an HDI? I will definitely come in my next lecture in one part that what is Human Development Index. But if you could add this part of Human Development Index answer with or rather calculation with your answer, this will give you a lot of important criteria for fetching good marks. So this is what I repeat once again, pre-industrial society, you see, stages, names, highlights. This is known to all. But the extra input will be this part. And if you provide an examples, both from your country or rather both from the world. Now, let's see how you can explain any stages of demographic transition. You see, I have prepared certain diagrams. Now, suppose you have a very less time while writing this kind of answer. You can always highlight birth rate is high, death rate is high. You have a stage 1. You see, I have put certain question marks. What else you could write? You could write the characteristic features. You could see that I have given certain characteristic features here, which is known to all. That why birth rate is high, why death rate is high, what were the reasons, why so many things are happening in the pre-industrial stage. Like this, you can choose from here any 2 reasons and you could incorporate this thing and this thing. You see, this area is common. So this is a kind of Venn diagram where you can use a common factor which is being possible, which is being there, both common for the increasing birth rate and increasing death rate. So it is here you have to fetch a figure of your own. You have to make a constant Venn diagram analysis of your own to make your answer presentable to your examiner. That is the most important part while writing down an answer. I repeat every time that answer is written by everyone, concept is common, but the way you present your answer is the most important part in any competitive exam. Uh, you see, these are some of the diagrams that are being prepared in hand. According to your answer, it's very easy to draw. This is being drawn here in pen, okay, MS Pen. Now, this kind of diagram you can easily draw with your answer. That is, what kind of H6 pyramid do you think will be taking place in stage 1? What kind of H6 pyramid will be taking place in stage 2? What kind of age and sex pyramid will be taking place in stage 3? These are the extra part that you are incorporating in your answer. These are the area where you will be getting much more marks. The examiner will understand that the theory is being betterly not been marked up, or rather not being provided with that of the rote learning, but has been given a proper calculation by the participant or by the contestant, and definitely will get you extra marks while you are utilizing this kind of diagram in your answer. And H6 pyramid is very easy to draw because we are not using any data here. We are just showing the shape. We are rather highlighting here with the shape and not with the data, because if it would have been with the data, then you have to mug it up. But you can analyze and you can write your answer. You can explain by analyzing this kind of diagrams and incorporating them in a proper manner. You remember I said in my previous lecture that even when you're incorporating diagrams in your answer, it should be done in a proper manner. Not you will write down the answer and then you are going to incorporate the diagram. No, not at all. If you remember, I will be, if possible, I will be showing you once more here also. But remember that when you're providing diagram with your answer, do it within the answer and not after you complete or after you have completed the answer. Please don't do that. Now you see, within your answer, suppose you're talking one example of a state, or you can take in one example of a country while explaining the concept of demographic transition theory. Now this is obvious, and I think this need to be done to make your answer much more annotable. Let's see if it is a country. Suppose we are taking the example of first stage. Now, we all know that in the 18th century, developed countries, I'm talking of the highly developed countries, they have already reached the second stage of demographic transition as with the Industrial Revolution. This stage has already been, the first stage of demographic transition has already been passed out by most of the developed countries of the world, especially between the 18th and even 19th century. But what about the developing countries? Let's see. Since we are studying for WBCS and IAS, whenever we call for a developing country, our first connotation or notion should be with our country, that is India. We will not be choosing any other country, but let's choose India because that will be given a much more better emphasis. Now, we all know that as per 2011 census, if we calculate the crude birth rate and crude rate and everything, we will find that India has entered the late third stage of demographic transition. Now, to explain this concept, if possible, you can always add the recent data of India's birth rate and death rate. Because CBR, that is crude birth rate, and CDR is easily available on the internet. But what a good contestant will do, you will yourself find out the natural increase. You yourself will find out the natural increase. Suppose you're drawing a graph like this, crude birth rate, crude death rate. It is your duty to find out the natural increase, which will fetch you an X factor. That is an extra marks for your answer. Okay. So this is what exactly being required. Now there is a difference, writing demographic transition theory for your college and writing demographic transition theories as an answer in a competitive exam. Even if you're writing an answer in your college, you will get a certain marks, which is very much proponent. But when you're sitting for any competitive exam, even 0.01 marks is very important, okay? Because for this, the rank do changes. Next. Okay, this is the intense Indian scenario as for 2011 census. We will see that CBR has decreased. We all know CDR has also been decreased due to so many medical attributes and all. So it is the natural increase. I said, you see, I have intentionally have not calculated the natural increase because it is the part of the contestant or it is the part of the participant, the competitor who will calculate this natural increase as part their source. And often you will remember whenever you're doing any kind of this thing, please write down the source at the end of the diagram. Whether it is sensors, whether you have taken it from somewhere else, whether you have taken it from any kind of website and all, please remind the source so that even if it is wrong, the words of being wrongness do not get boosted upon you when you're writing the source. So you need to interpret this above mentioned ideas, which will give you a X factor in your answer. Remember, this is also an X factor in your answer when you interpret this thing in your own words, because these things are not being given in any kind of especially population geography books or something of that sort. This is your extra part. This is your extra knowledge where you will be fetching good marks. Now, you can also split your content and form a comparison in your answer if you get a proper time. Now, how? Demographic transition theory, you can split it into that of the developed world. You can also split it into the developing world. How? You can split it into two developing countries. Between two developing countries, one that is India. I have chosen a neighbor Bangladesh. You could have chosen anything: Pakistan, Nepal, Afghanistan, China, Japan, anything, though Japan comes under the developed aspect. We can choose any Asian countries. You can make a comparison with West Bengal if you are sitting for the civil states and with that of the other state. Excuse me, please. You can also split your content, what I've showed it to you. You can also write your answer while you're analyzing it into columns. First you see, first you think, summarize your thought and be bold to emphasize your facts. I think that is the most important part. Second is analyzing. Go for analyzing your own thought within your answer. Let me highlight. Within the answer. And the third one is reciprocate, that is to give a clear idea of your thought. This is what exactly is being required within this one or two or three columns while writing down your answer. Now, since a student of geography, you all know that a picture speaks 1,000 words. Any complex idea can be conveyed with just a single still image, which is namely making it possible to absorb large amount of data. So whatever you wanted to show, you can use any kind of image or any kind of diagrams, which would be of great help, because obviously a picture speaks 1,000 words. Now let us come into the scenario of West Bengal, since mostly you are preparing for WBCS. Now, what is being observed? It is being observed that even after the time of 1994, there is a sharp decline in birth rate. We all know that there occurred a lot of change in the population scenario of West Bengal, especially after 90s. Now, if we view the age sex pyramid of West Bengal since 1990s, it has been shifted from the part of young to that of the old age population. You will find that more and more people, they are being specifically they are living in a more proper manner with proper medical facilities, and naturally 65 plus populations has increased substantially. So better we could say that though India, just like that of India, even West Bengal has also entered the later third stage of demographic transition. Now, I said that in your answer, what is the big impact? That is your X factor. Always add tables to compare your data. You see, I have just given example here as WW, double X, double Y, but always try to add and compare your data in a proper manner. Sorry, guys, I've been suffering from cough and cold. These are the maps that you can always incorporate in your answer. The world map, which is the most important arena. Our process is easy. Discuss as much as you can in a concise form. Put examples, that is practical examples, and not any kind of example from past. Concluding remark, you see your own assumption of the theory. That is, I think, the most important part whenever you're writing any kind of answer. Whether it is discussed, whether it is examples, whether you're providing a concluding remark, it should be in a very concrete manner while you're writing down your answer. Now, let us review some concept before I end. I said it will be a short one. Always use the propounder's name correctly. Don't misspell their names. If it is Francis, don't write France, which is very much, shameful from our part, from the part of contestants, and even from the part of examiner. Recollect diagrams. Please try to recollect each and every diagrams that you're writing. Remember data. Often, you people get a shock. Remember data. I said in my previous lecture, the easy way to remember data is to mug up the data and draw a graph of your own and put that thing in your answer script. Observe other knowledge. What is this other knowledge? Other knowledge is something which is not very much prominent in any kind of books. Suppose with the demographic transition theory, specifically those sitting after this pandemic, you can analyze the corona effect in your answer. Just one or two lines that how the H6 pyramid has changed, how the demographic transition theory has changed after this pandemic, because the world has not observed anything of this sort. So definitely it has got a lot of impact in the population, and also in the birth rate, and in the this mortality factor and the fertility factor. So at least one or two lines if you could add with your own about this after corona effect of demographic transition theory and all, it will give a lot of X factor in your answer. Try your own imagination. It doesn't mean that you are writing something which is not appropriate with the theory, but you need to try your own imagination. Means writing down the theory and interpret it in your own imaginative way, or rather from where this theory, or rather in which part of the world of this theory could be very much acceptable, or rather you can always criticize to certain extent in these areas. Because we all know that every theory is not appropriate. So this is the right area where even you can criticize your own imagination. Authenticity. Obviously, remember what I said, be a little authentic to your answer. When you're writing down any kind of answer of your own, please try to provide the exact words which is being absolutely necessary in your answer. And here the authenticity signifies what exactly is keywords. Okay. So that is the most important factor here. Now, this is what a demographic transition theory is. It is being drawn in a spectacular manner in MS Paint. And you can easily understand that the death rate is going down, the birth rate is going down, with naturally when the total population increase, giving the right to that of the natural increase. So this diagram is the most important part. And I said, after computing all kind of diagrams, the H6 pyramid, the total analysis, the total part, at the end of the answer, or rather before the conclusion, you can always give the total effect of this natural increase in your answer with examples, if being not asked from the part. Those who are sitting for WBCS, obviously West Bengal, and those who are sitting for IAS, you can take up any state of your own, or rather you can take India as a whole. Now, definitely we will meet soon for the next class. I hope demographic transition theory was being discussed. I have tried to discuss the points which will fetch you good marks, because this thing are more or less known to each and everyone. But when you're writing down the answer, there are certain things which you need to remember. And if possible, I will try to give you something of that sort, that while you're writing down your answer, make sure, I often say that make sure that you have a proper introduction. I repeat once again before I end my lecture, you have a proper body part, okay, where you can at least show the various, your way of writing down the answer, your X factor here. Third, always use any kind of diagram, if possible, both world or rather India map where it is being requested. I'm talking about especially about population geography. And last, in the concluding remark, if it is a theory, just like demographic transition theory, use your own knowledge along with the criticisms. Please use your own knowledge along with the criticisms, which will fetch you a good origin, or rather a good notion of your examiner. Okay, for today, thank you. Sorry for a little bit of disturbance. I had a little cough, but hope I will meet you in the next class with another topic of population geography. Till then, please prepare hard. And what I said, don't never lose hope, because WBCS has become, and IAS obviously has become very easy. And you have seen that hard work do pays a lot of, or rather a lot of provision to most of the people, because if you see that most of the students who go on for WBCS and IAS, they are rather are really hardworking, and your hard work will definitely